Um, so the two motivators are what? Say it again.
Pursuit of pleasure and avoidance of pain.
Avoidance of pain. And which one is stronger?
The avoidance.
Avoidance of pain. And I think that a lot of people, when they start out in sales, they think that talking about features and benefits is the way to get a sale, right? Like you immediately want to be like, well, I'm so good at my job. I made all these sales and me, this product, this product is so good. This service is so good. And they don't even understand like a person's motivation, a person's needs to fit into that motivation and where your products or service fit in. So there's a couple of words that we can kind of start to implement and questions that we can use to start to change that in our favor. So people are pre-programmed through conditioning to do what when they hear a salesperson get on the phone? What do they want to do as soon as they figure out you're on a cold call? Hang up.
Get you off as fast as you can.
So what do you need? What do you need to, in that first 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds of a conversation, what do you have to do to like tap into?
Get to the point.
Get to the point, damn it. Certainly one way, but what should happen in the first 10 seconds of your call if you want to actually start a conversation?
Usually if I make them laugh in that first 10 seconds, I like humanize them. They'll stay on the call for like 10-15 minutes.
That's a good thing. Like,
Yeah.
so the first part of the sales process is building rapport. And one way to build rapport is to ask a question. One thing I've been doing lately that's helped start a conversation so well is to put the absurdity of real estate right now at the forefront, right? But I pose it as a question. So I say who I am, where I'm coming from, and I say, I don't know if you've been keeping up with this crazy real estate market. Have you seen what's going on right now? Just like super to the point. That's why I'm calling. Market's crazy. Are you aware of that? Almost everybody's like, oh yeah, it's out of control. Prices are so crazy. Well, what's the next progression of that conversation? They're like, oh yeah, I know how crazy it is. Like home values are so high. What should your next question be?
Have you thought about getting in on the action?
Okay, so let's take that as a good example. So have you thought about getting in on the action? Is that a question that opens somebody up to a conversation, or does the answer to that question have a hard stop?
No. Hard stop.
Okay, so as we move down this here, that kind of question prompts a yes or no output. Now they can avoid the conversation. Yes, I've thought about it. No, I haven't thought about it. So let's say, how do we pose that question, the same thing, but get them to actually talk about it?
Maybe ask them they know what their home value actually is, or what.
So that's also a yes or no question. How could we pose the question in a way that keeps somebody talking? Man, the real estate market is so crazy. Why haven't you gotten in yet? Can you answer that question in a yes or no?
Asking why.
Exactly. It's the same question. Why haven't you sold your house yet? Boom. Now they're talking. That's the first 10-15 seconds of a conversation. And now they're going, oh man, well, I don't know. I've got my grandma lives with us now and I'm taking care of her and it's real hard. Now you have an in. Like the answer to that question can't be yes or no. So write that one down. Let's write that down real quick. First question. Yeah, you can go grab a pen.
Hey, I'm not gonna stop you messing with you.
If I'm not immune at this point, man,
Dude, it's literally taking out everybody right now.
it's insane.
Like it's gonna sweep the nation over the next month, and then everybody will be good.
I'm heating up. Seth and Tori, are you guys still there?
Yes.
No, I quit.
You quit?
Yeah.
Give me 50 million, I'ma quit. Are you following along?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Because I can't see your faces. You guys are like,
Why?
I'm out of here.
Why haven't you sold your?
Okay, first question, what is it?
Have you?
Have you seen our pretty mortgage?
have you been keeping up? I really like this. Have you been keeping up with the crazy real estate market? And I know that that's a yes or no question. But I think if you pose it like, have you seen what's happening in the real estate market, or try to make it as like, it's kind of a funny question. It's like, I think it's fucking absurd. I'm a real estate agent, And it also it poses the idea that we know what's going on. And if they don't know what's going on, they're like, I mean, no, I don't keep up with it. What's going on? It's kind of that carrot. The next question is what?
Why haven't you gone in on action? Why
Yeah.
haven't you taken advantage of the crazy?
Why haven't you taken advantage of this crazy market is a really good question. I mean, if we know we're talking to sellers, this is how we're doing it. How could you ask the same thing of a buyer? What's the same question that would like
Why haven't
entice a
you taken-
buyer?
Why haven't you taken advantage of the ultra low?
Historically low interest
Historically low
rates.
interest
Why haven't you taken advantage of this?
Lower than anything in the last 20 years. Why are you sitting at home?
Well, most people are paying more in rent than they would pay for the same house in mortgage, right? Okay, so those are two good questions. We talk about avoiding maybes. We really want to get to questions, only questions that are going to keep the conversation flowing. And then there's also this is a trick from Bold, but when you have like really, do you guys know what embedded commands are?
Oh, where you're like telling someone to do something without.
So the command of the question, like if you were to say, why haven't you sold your house yet? Or why haven't you listed your house yet? Right? You would want to say like, why haven't you listed your house yet? You would emphasize a command like list your house, right? But it's inside of the question. So keep that in mind too. That's part of it. Making sure to slow down too while you're asking these questions. Stay relaxed. If you feel like you're getting into a conversation and you're antsy or anxious, like it's going to come through the phone. So the goal is we're moving from the opening questions and rapport building into a conversation. You learn a little bit as you're talking to these people, like you're building up information that you're going to use later. Okay. They say, I haven't got into the real estate market yet because it's going to be hard for me to find a house with 3 kids and 2 dogs and everything that we have, right? Like they're telling you their information. Let's not dive into that right away. Don't take the bait. Let's bring that back around. So what do you want to do when somebody tells you, I haven't gotten into the real estate market yet because my family's too big and I don't want to move them out of school right now. Like it'd be too complicated to move. What's the next thing that should come out of your mouth? How do you build a relationship with someone?
You empathize with them first.
You
and then you could
empathize.
ask the objection.
Empathize. Always repeat to them what they've just told you. So that they know that you're listening to them, because a conversation is one thing, but building a relationship means that you're listening as much as you're talking. When they tell you an objection, you don't have to handle it right away. You can dig in, you can ask more questions about that, right? Like we don't know the full extent. Oh man, I understand that you feel like your family is too large or it's going to be too complicated for you to move. A lot of clients have told me that before. Is your house still fulfilling the needs that you have for the size of your family? Like that's a question that shows that you listened, you understand, you're trying to empathize, and you want to see if there's another thing that might be a solution for them, right? People in that situation, a lot of people that we're talking to, what's the number one objection?
They won't be able to find a house.
They won't be able to find the house. They won't be able to buy the house that they want for the price that they want, right? Yeah. Is that the reality? Not really. Like in our assessment of things over the last 2 years, everyone has said that because of the way the market is. But what we found 9 times out of 10 is our clients do find a house that they want and their payment doesn't change. A lot of times with the amount of equity they had in their old house, moving it into a new house with a lower interest rate, their payments are going down, right? So they can afford the same house. So if that's not reality, what do you do? How do you, it's called interrogating reality. How do you do that in that conversation? A person says, we can't find the same house. We can't find the house for the price that we're looking for. What do you say?
I would just be like, oh, well, let me, I found this house right here. That's exactly what you're looking for at that price.
So you're pitching your features and benefits again. How do you dig into that how do you dig into that statement without bringing it back to you?
Just tell them that's not true.
So
He says that's not true.
yeah, I hate to say it, but you're just wrong, you dummy. No, you dig in, you say, oh, how many houses have you looked at? Right? Like how into the market are you? Like, are you keeping up with the houses on the market every day? Oh man, it sounds like you haven't seen what you're looking for. I mean, have you actually gone and looked at any houses? No. Oh, how do you know that what's out there wouldn't fulfill your needs right now? So we want to change our own mindset so that we're not constantly pitching something to these people. We're constantly digging in and getting more information. I love this quote. I don't like the guy, but you remember that guy who had all the YouTube videos, Ty something that was like, here in my garage with all my Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
You guys
I
remember
love
that
this.
guy? Ty Lopez, yeah. He had a great quote. He was like, when you are at a party and you're networking with people, the one who, let's say all of the people in the room make more money. Let's say they're more wealthy. When you're the person asking all the questions, you've gained more from that interaction than if you're the one talking the whole time. He said he was at a party and Elon Musk walked up to him and he's like, hey, Ty, what do you think about the future of Snapchat? Ty Lopez starts talking and he's talking to a billionaire and he's just going. Elon walks away and he's like, fuck, I didn't get to ask Elon any questions, right? So like when you're the person delivering value, the way that you get value out of a conversation is from listening, from asking questions. Keep that in mind. And I want to change y'all's thoughts about that. If you feel like you start talking in a conversation with somebody and you're giving them information, you're dumping features, just go, shit, I'm doing it wrong. Let me back up. Let me ask a question. Okay, so we have those conversations, we build the relationship. Now we have opportunities. We've got this whole list of things they've given us because we've asked them the right questions. We move on from the opportunities and handling the objections into getting them to make a decision. And what's the goal of that conversation every time we talk to somebody? Set an appointment. We're talking about cold calls right now. This applies to every conversation, but the reality is most of our time is spent prospecting and trying to be really good at prospecting. And so we want to increase the quality of the decisions by gathering enough information to help make that decision. So the next thing, what I want you guys to do right now, the first exercise is just write 5 generic questions that do not prompt a yes, no, that you could ask a seller that demonstrate that you know something about the market that they don't. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a freebie. When we were in a FSBO appointment 2 weeks ago, I asked him, hey, what would you do in the event that somebody gives you a full price offer, but the house doesn't appraise? Because that demonstrates that I know something he doesn't know. And he's like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. That's great. So let's think about that for like a couple minutes and we'll review a couple good questions. If you can't come up with 5, come up with 2 or 3, but I'm sure we can do that. Clock starts now.
5 questions that prompt.
Just prompt anything but a yes or no response. Tori left us for a bit. Are you back?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, who wants to share a question that they came up with? Anybody?
What would you change about?
I will.
Wait, what did you say, Ryan?
What would you change about your current home?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. All right, what's up, Seth?
I said, what do you think the value of your home is in this crazy market?
Isn't that your job? No, I'm just kidding. That's
But it's
good.
just to get them thinking, you know?
No, that's good, man. What do you have, Matt?
You sold your home for X amount, what would that do for you and your family?
Perfect.
What would you do?
That gets down to the motivation. So if you sold your home for X amount, what would that do for you? And you had a follow-up question. Where would you go, or what
Yeah.
what would you buy next?
Yeah, yeah, that's the one, yeah. Where would you like to end up?
You got one different than that, Blake?
No, mine's pretty similar to Ryan's. It's just like what's stopping you from like pursuing your dream home.
That's good too, though. That's different.
Yeah.
What's stopping you? Because that actually gets to the core of what part of the motivation.
Or what that fear is,
Yeah.
what's kind of holding them back.
So what's holding them back is a certain fear. What's stopping you from pursuing your next house? Tori, do you have any?
I heard mine already.
Okay. That's 5. We got 5 in there. All right. So the next part of the book covers another set of words. I'm not sure if this is for you. Who remembers why this phrase is helpful for somebody in sales?
Oh,
I'm not sure if this is for you, but
Because it prompts people to listen and be like, well, maybe it is for me.
maybe it is.
yeah, it takes the emphasis of like, you're not asking for them to do
Right.
something, you're asking for them to think about this fear, but then they might come back and realize that that is something that they need as well.
Well, so one of the main reasons too is that as agents, no matter how long you've been doing this, like the fear of rejection is big, right? Like we sometimes avoid putting something out there because we're afraid that they're gonna reject us. But by saying this, it takes that away from us because we're just saying, hey, this might not be your thing. So if they say no, we already said they could say no. We already, prompted that. But if you tell somebody, nah, this might not be for you, they immediately want to know what it is. Like, they want to.
What is for me?
Yeah, their natural tendency is to say, no. Actually, I'm pretty interested in this. So it fires an internal driver that there's a decision to be made, but they don't have the pressure to do it. And I thought this was one of the most helpful ones in the first 5 chapters that I felt like on the phone, I could deliver this every time.
I do it in text.
When we offer CMAs,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is for you, but I run free market analysis for people who are curious about their home's value.
I don't know if this would be helpful, but
Yeah. It takes a little bit of that off. So in practice, we wrote a couple of these out. Not sure if this is for you, but when the time is right, I'd love to help you get the best price for your home. I'm not sure if this is for you, but there's an open house Saturday and you're welcome to come. Not sure if this is for you, but I have a new listing coming up next week that might be a good fit for you. Like, well, tell me about that. Okay. And then the last part of the first 5 chapters, I also like this a lot. We always ask, I think we phrase this question, do you know anyone? Do you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell? But what does that question do?
It just gives them the
It gives them the out. Nope. So if we turn that around and say, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell this year?
Yeah.
Who do you know? Now they can't say, they can say, I don't know anybody. That's
But
Yeah.
an out,
harder
but it's
to-
harder for them to say, I don't know anybody, because, oh, it's like, oh, you don't have any friends? What are you like?
Yeah.
What are you, a loser? No. So it's like, who do you know that's moving to the area? Who do you know that could be interested in the value of their property? And I actually did this when I was on a cold call 2 weeks ago, somebody in Southern Oaks, and he gave me his neighbor's name and number. And he was like, this guy's actually thinking about selling. Called him, didn't get through, and he did list his house like 2 weeks later, but they were willing to give it to me. So I said, who do you know on your street? You know, make them really think about it.
Where you going like that too?
Yeah.
You're the next door neighbor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Using flexible phrasing, thinking about, could be, might, considering, adds fluidity to the conversation, creates no pressure. Person might explore their memory without pressure, and they may be the opportunity. Also, if you've already done, are you guys familiar with the idea of earning the right to move forward in the sales process? So in the entire sales process, which we are kind of covering in this very basically, and I'll do a little bit more next week when we talk about it, but our sales process is basically that questioning. The conversation is like a needs evaluation, and then there's objection handling, and then there's the close, and the close is asking for the appointment. So throughout that entire process, what do you have to do to move forward with each one? Like, let's say you open it with building rapport. How do you get to move to conversation? Oh, the answer is by asking questions. So every step of that process, you ask a question to get to move forward. And the question is, am I understanding you correctly? This is what you've said so far, right? Move on to the next part. Now I understand that you're not looking to buy or sell right now. But could it be the case that if you got the most for your property, you would consider an offer? Now that's me summarizing their objection and moving on to the next thing, which is my pitch. So once they say, okay, maybe, oh, great. Do you know what the price of your home would be? Or can you tell me what you think the value of your home would be that would make it enough for you to move forward with the process? So every time you get to the end of that sales process, you ask the next question, you get to move forward. At the end of it, you get the right to ask for the close, which is, when can you meet so I can take a look at the house? When can you meet so that we can give you that evaluation? And don't give them an out. What do we say instead? We don't let them set the tone. What do we say instead of that?
We can give them specific days, like what times do you have available Thursday or Friday afternoon?
Is Wednesday at 5 better, or would Thursday at 2 work for you? Give them 2 options every time. And only give them 2 options, because people can't handle more than that. But when you give them those options, they're more likely to give you a response. Maybe they say, well, Thursday at 2 won't work, but Thursday at 4 will work. So we're gonna make some fucking killers here. I think, do you guys think you can implement some of this in your conversation today?
I did yesterday.
I would suggest you write down like the 3 things you think, or circle the 3 things that you think you could use. And before you start making calls, just review it. And if you go through a call and you're like, oh, I missed one, read it again, go back and write it down again, whatever you need to do.
Every conversation
Constantly
should have,
evaluate.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's for you, but
Yeah,
that one, like.
I love that. I would, I know we have scripts and everything in there, but the scripts can't cover everything. So these are the things that we
Yeah,
throw
these are the
in
scripts.
when we get the
I'll like take the script
opportunity.
and then put it on like notebook and look at it and be like, okay, I'm gonna implement like this in a certain part of it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or try to.
Sweet. Tori, are you still there?
Yes.